Hello there. Hello, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Hi, Amy. How are you?
Hey, Heidi. Oh, it's so nice to see you.
Woohoo! If by chance you do not know who this beautiful gal is, I'm so honored and grateful to welcome back Amie Chilson. This is now our 18th episode of the High Vibe Human Experience Hangout. And Amy and I have done a couple of them before. And I think today we're going to do a little more of a deep dive into the adventures of awakening and what that looks like for Amy. And I'm sure I'll have a couple tales or two. But before we dive into that, I really wanted to ask you where you are right now in the world because you like to travel the world. And this is a beautiful photo. and talk a little bit about your series, different series you have going on. But where is this? Where are you?
Oh, this is a beautiful image. Anytime I go on a show or I'm part of like a online group, I like to do the virtual backgrounds, and they're always somewhere that I've visited in the world that made an impact on me. I think the first show I did Bruges, Belgium with you.
Yeah.
Yep, and the canals, and then I either did the Great Wall of China or maybe it was Thailand,
I
James
think
Bond
it's
Island.
Thailand.
Yep.
Mhm.
And now this is Angkor Wat in Cambodia. And oh my goodness, it's one of the wonders of the world. It is such a profound, beautiful, amazing place to visit. And I went there in 2015. And as I was exploring Cambodia, and it's one of those amazing places where you feel so ancient, the ancient energy. Like a nine
Yeah.
months tour throughout Southeast Asia, and there's an interesting story behind this image, which I'll say for another time. But I was traveling by foot across borders, train, cars. I mean, all these different weird, unique ways to get around. And I had an interesting time trying to get into Cambodia. Well, let's just say I was victorious. I made it.
Good. And you're still here. I'm glad to hear.
And I'm here to tell the story.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and
Well,
thank you. I wanted to mention real quick. So you and we've been thwarted a few times to do this episode. I know it's been on our minds because it's such a potent topic. So we were going to meet and possibly do an in-person show in Wisconsin, and I was really looking forward to seeing you. And we were so close. You were
oh
not
my
very
gosh,
far away.
like right there.
Yeah, you were what, an hour or two away. And then I know you had to go home for your animal emergency. And by the way, if the audience sees, I'm looking at Heidi, and the reason I'm looking, it looks like I'm looking the opposite direction of you. So
Does it?
yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know if you want to flip them, but um,
Okay.
I want to look you in the eyes as I'm speaking to you. But it looks
Let
like
me try flipping you and see if that works
better.
live.
Yeah, that's better. Now I'm looking at the right direction. And
Okay.
and then yesterday we were supposed to do our show, and both of us have been experiencing ascension symptoms. And some of that is disruptive to sleep, a lot of crazy astral adventure travel and odd sleep patterns. So thank you for rescheduling today. And here
Oh,
we
sure. Yeah. And today I'm like, oh, yeah, I didn't really sleep again. Like, let's do
you
it.
look wonderful. That's a good color on you too.
Thanks. It's another, I get every year I get a box from my sister. I'm hand me down Heidi, and I get her hand me down dresses and stuff. So these are
Yeah.
some of my favorites. I love color. Well, as a mom, as a teacher, as all these things, I'm so grateful you have a couple series going on. And one of my favorites right now is your foodie series, and it's Farm to Table. I know you get your niece and nephew involved, and I'm really loving these series you have. You also, the hero's journey is coming up, right? There's a trailer out right now for that. So that's a pretty, that's looks really exciting.
It's neat.
Um,
It's Joseph Campbell's hero's journey, and it's all about like ultimately transformation, and everybody's on their own transformative path right now. So it's relative, it's powerful, it's connecting for oneness for people to realize, oh, hey, you know what? We're all on this journey. We're the writer of our own story, the hero, the protagonist, and it's probably one of the hardest projects I've ever done, Heidi.
oh,
It's
oh
really hard
gosh.
because it's so symbolic and metaphoric and not literal, but then it is literal. And so being able to communicate that, I have found, has been one of the most challenging projects that I've taken on. And I'm interviewing myself on camera outside. So stay tuned for that one. That'll be coming out on all my channels. And I think I'm finally gonna pony up and get a professional Vimeo channel for my longer films. So
Nice.
I
Good.
know.
As you should. You've put so much hard work into it. It should be shown in the best way possible.
Yes, and I do
Yeah.
want to reach more people because I sense they're going to have so many connection points to it. Plus, it's all about know thyself.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so when you realize that you are what stage you are in that journey, and then you talked about the foodie series, so that's been a lot of fun. You and I both love to eat and cook, right?
Yes. Well, and I'm going to take all this information and, I'm starting my third year as or the uprising, the third graders I'm taking on at this Steiner Learning Center, the homeschoolers, and it's an outdoor school. And the whole curriculum is gardening and farming and taking care of the lands and guardians of the lands. And you've got like my curriculum there. So I should probably pay you.
Oh my goodness! Well, thank you. I have made this series free, like I do for most of my series. And if people want to come to my website and contribute, I've set up a page for that. I always appreciate it because I'm self-funded and I do everything myself: web design,
Passion.
editing, film and camera operation, and marketing. And I love it, and it's fun. And so, if the kids get into a series like that, learning how to grow your own food, store your own food, and these days when things are so expensive in the stores and there's so much poison, especially live in the United States, it's great. Was
Yeah.
that my cat or my stomach? What was that sound?
Could you hear him? That's my cat. I didn't think you could hear it. Oops.
And then people, we talked about this before we started, is it's unifying. And I'm looking for far more unifying aspects and points at this time in the world where it's so purposely divisive by, let's just say, the bad guys, right? To divide
Mhm.
and conquer us, we the people of planet Earth, not just our nation. And so creating stories and storylines that are educational and fun and also dynamic, thought provoking, and ultimately to compel people to action, because that's my purpose. I don't want somebody just to watch something, whether it's how to grow your food or how to go on an adventure somewhere or learn how to earth and ground or whatever it is metaphysically, is to take that knowledge and apply it. So there's just always that theme through everything that I create. And I know you do too. And you want people to have a better life, more joy, more abundance, more connection to source, right?
Yes.
And to be more potent and powerful creators. And so
Yeah.
that's a big invitation for anyone that sees any of my video series, is that to take that and do something with it.
Yeah. Yes. It's such a labor of love, but pay it forward. Use it and implement it in your daily life. Hence, I also love one more shout out, playing with energy, because we all do that all the live long day. They're so inspiring. In fact, one of your first one, I think, when you're walking through the forest, it just really brought me back to one. I had a hard time recovering when we came back from the road trip because it was sudden. I didn't get to do some of the things my heart was calling to do. So I had to really deal with it.
Yes.
And you just reminded me to just get outside, get in tune, remember who you are and breathe. And it was just so perfectly timed. So I'm
I'm
really good at that.
and I'm probably going to be a bit broken record on that, on earthing and grounding. Oh, that's the last project I'm doing, my first documentary right now. Well, I would say first formal documentary, and it is on the topic of earthing and grounding.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Excellent.
So all these four concurrent projects right now, which I love. And my goal is to have that film out at the end of September. And I am my own guinea pig, scientist, observer, rolled up into one. So,
I love that.
yeah,
That's one of my first lessons because it's an outdoor classroom and parents have concerns. We're going to be out in all the weathers. And I go, you can't, at this age, you cannot mimic earthing and grounding, what it's going to be like for them to digest this information with their feet in the dirt and their hands in the dirt. And it's going to be like no other. So it's so imperative to share a lot of these messages for those newly awakening and those who feel that they've been on this journey for quite some time.
right.
You never stop digesting the info.
And
So
I'm
yeah,
glad you're doing that for kids, and kids are watching us. I mean, we
yeah,
are the walking public example for them, and they're so observant, especially, I would say, particularly between like 5 10, that's a really potent age right there.
Yeah.
And to be a good example for them is to do it with them, to live, experiential learning is you can't read that in a book. Well, you could, but
Mhm.
you want to experience it. And like you said, wherever people are on their awakening process, we have the chance to assist people wherever they are, but especially to accelerate children's awakening process right now. And a lot of that does have to be with reconnecting to the simple things like, being outside, being in nature, friends, family, sunshine, good food, um, happiness, laughter. Even children
Mhm.
love to learn how to meditate and do yoga early.
Yes, very much so, and need to be told that that also involves just the walking meditation. We have like a little kind of foresty track and just that spaced out, quiet walk in reverence, just catching their breath, following their breath. Any age can be doing that. And I mean, there's so many, I do the kids' health series with Lawrence and such alarming statistics and stuff about medicated children. And then here I am with this active class with trouble kids. A couple of them like, oh, they're going to be trouble. I'm like, are they though? We're going to be outside. We're going to be earthing and grounding. This is exactly what they need. Everyone's going to be busy and physical. And that's what children need. They need that. So then the little hour and a half, 2 hour of digesting the information that they could use at that time, some academics, some mathematics, some sentence structure, but it's going to be mostly a physical way of doing things. I think it's just so important. And yeah, I guess I should do my own little long vlog on that. you can tell I'm knee deep in it. I'm surrounded by
I love
books
it.
and
It's
yeah.
so great. It's so great that you're doing that. And somewhere in life, I want to be actively participating with children and doing something like that as well.
Well, you are. Yeah, you may not have that immediate, well, your niece and nephew, but I have to tell you, her content, if you are an educator or a parent, view this stuff. It's for all ages, it's for children. Like you're interacting with children behind the screen right now, but heck, I see you taking it on the road and getting into the schools and have your own little minivan. Adventures with Amie.
There's something there. There's something there. And there's also initiatives that I have. Actually, it's the first time I've said this out loud. I have several initiatives that I'm working on right now. I will just say formally. And one of the points of it is to be able to help micro fund and inspire young filmmakers, children filmmakers, and getting them, yeah, to creatively express themselves through filmmaking in whatever way that looks, in a way that's, a healthy environment. Because there's a lot of predatory environments online for
Sure.
children. So, and giving and helping them get their messages out there in a, more professional manner for them. So I think that's great. And children they thrive with putting a camera in their hands.
Yeah.
I
Little
know
creator bee.
I
Yeah,
was
yeah,
as a
yeah.
kid.
Oh yeah. I had the Barbies hanging from the cliffs with chopped off hair and like, oh my gosh, cat me. We're little filmmakers at heart. Well, how is this adventure with the awakening? How I know we've tapped in a couple of our episodes about your journeys and where it started from, how you fell into Adventures with Amie, but your awakening's kind of been a lifelong journey, hasn't it?
It has, and for a lot of people, it is. They come in that it's beautiful for however someone awakens. This is what I just said on my live stream right before I came on your show. Is we're all just walking each other home, like that great meme from Ram Dass. He's got Jesus or Yeshua arm in arm with Buddha and Shiva, Lord Shiva, right? And we're all just walking each other home. So some souls will take a very squirrely long approach to get back home, and some will have a more direct. But however a soul chooses to do this awakening and evolutionary journey, because it's not just one lifetime, it's many, not just as even our species, many far reaching species in the multiverse, is that eventually we go back home. You can call
Yeah.
that source. And so as we see people right now, there are like as an example, and then I want to go back just a little bit to the beginning, is that we see a lot of people who have been awakened for multiple decades. And thank goodness for them, because those were some of the people that I got to learn from and be mentored and assisted during my deep down the rabbit hole dive, right? Because
Mhm.
it was kind of a lonely experience for me, as I mentioned. I didn't have very many people that were awake, and I had a lot of pushback and criticism from friends, even from my husband at the time. And so when you have those few people that are already awakened that have gone through that process, you're like, oh, thank goodness, right? Somebody gets me. And then you've got people who maybe like myself and you who have been unraveling those layers of the onion, going deeper and deeper and deeper in our own awakening and understanding. And it's we can now step in and help those who are just starting to wake up. Like a lot of people are hearing their higher self call them. It's time to wake up. It's time to wake up, right? They see everything happening in the world. They know their gut instinct says there's something not right. But, maybe their families or their initial groups of people surrounding them, their environment are not supportive in that process, right? And we talked about how The Matrix is such a great, the movie The Matrix,
Yep.
literally and metaphorically, and it just there's metaphor bonanzas here because we are in a literal matrix, and then there's the Matrix of movie, which was brilliant. Now looking at through the lens of my higher consciousness now to when I first saw it in 1999, like we've come a long way, baby, haven't we, Heidi?
Oh my gosh.
You
Yes.
know? So, I mean, when I love using this as an a metaphorical tool to help show people where they might be in their stages of awakening, because and they did such a great job with Neo, right? Mr. Anderson,
So
right?
good. Mhm.
He did such a great job. And so there, if we can go shift back for just a second. So the beginning of awakening, there are some souls, very few, that when they incarnate to planet Earth, they remember everything about their past lives, who they've been. They remember their mission very clearly. They don't have the amnesia that most souls have, right?
Mhm.
We have birth now, and then the veil's there, and you get amnesia, and you have to, fight, scratch, and claw your way back to the truth, like Neo scratching his way and clawing out of that pod, right? You know?
Great me great
Yeah.
memes with that one.
So there are a few souls that come in and they say, and I've laughed out loud because it's just so funny to me. And they even laugh. They're like, so I remember being in the womb, hanging out. I remember the birthing process. And I come in and it's just like, wow, I'm in this little body, right? And they come in and they say, this is so challenging. And where are my tools? Where's my team? How do I get back to my ship? And they're a baby. Because they remember the mission, they remember why they chose to come here, and they remember who they have been before. And so I think it's humorous to me because now you're starting over in the body of a baby, right? And so
That's what they're all screaming, I think. Like,
yeah,
"Ah, nobody can hear me."
yeah. So there have been some gurus and um, very awakened souls that have reported the fact that they've remembered everything, and some of them did say they cried a lot and their parents couldn't understand. So and then you have souls, like I'll use myself as an example, and maybe you, and a lot of people will resonate this. We have layers of awakening in different periods and milestones in our lives. And I say, before we come here, we plan our life. We have our life plan, although we have free will, so we can completely decide to um, ditch the plan, right? We don't
Change
even,
it up. Yep.
we have these little indicators that we set for ourselves before we get here to help guide us to the highest good of our mission. Like when I go on a Camino, a pilgrimage, I have those little yellow arrows to indicate how to get from France all the way across to Spain, to Santiago de Compostela. I see these little indicators. And even if I have no GPS, no map, which is how I did my first pilgrimage, actually, every pilgrimage, throw the map and GPS out the window. I can just follow the indicators and I will get to the Church of St. James. So
Awesome. Trust.
we
A lot of trust there.
yeah, we
Hmm.
preemptively create these little indicators, and so they can come in the form of milestones of people, usually catalytic events, right? Some big events that
Yeah.
I started
My
having um,
milestones in the
my
life. Like,
yeah,
yeah.
big events. And when I was 2, that's when I first had my first memories. By 4, I was aware of how to lucid dream, and by 5, I was very aware and conscious at an early age, and I was very observant of everything. And so that's where I would say my awakening journey really began at age 5 when I was questioning everything, including the church. I remember at age 5, I was in the church and I was thinking, I didn't have the words to say it, but I did tell my mom, like, this God, that I'm reading about, this jealous, angry God, that's not my God. Nope, I'm not into it. No, I'm not into it. And I was 5, you know?
Wow. Yeah.
And so we have these indicators, and often in the form of a person. So it could be, a new relationship, a best friend, an enemy. It could be a breakup or a divorce, where we're forced into another layer of awakening, and it's often painful, right? We have to get to sometimes the divorce or the bankrupt or someone died. Even though we're infinite beings, right? We still miss their physical presence, and so once something like that happens, it often will be the indicator for someone, the wake up call to look in the mirror and to do some introspection. And I will say for myself, and I think for you too, and many people, it's during those events where a lot of growth and opening up and learning about the truth of existence and who am I and why am I here and what's the point of all of it. That's when that some of those dark days, that's when the good stuff happens, right? The
Yes.
momentum.
1000%. I'm right there with you. Yeah. And I even reflect, and I keep reflecting, in current days on the past and be like, oh, like I'm always learning new things about myself and where the development of the awakening's been happening. And there's a lot of peace and grace that comes with that because you're like, oh, I could talk to my younger self, but had to go through it.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't
And then
that interesting?
look how
Hmm.
you became the
Yeah.
character that you've developed because, right?
Yep. Yep.
Because your
Oh, yeah.
eyes are more wide open and your heart.
Very big on sharing that of why, because people can get frustrated with how happy, and I'm like, takes a really dark, heavy experience to get to that point because you have to ultimately choose the happiness. So yeah, yeah, there's a lot of sads that come with when you reflect and see what you've gone through. But the beauty is, but if had I not done that, I
Mhm.
wouldn't get to this. So I would do it all over again.
Oh, yeah. And then
Mhm.
also, I would say from a place, you said peace, which is to me the most um, defining word for me is you have more peace. It's also forgiveness, the lightness that comes from unburdening yourself to forgive yourself, to forgive others. So I mentioned a lot of indicators or wake up calls come from relationships or the ending of relationships. I've had several relationships end very poorly and
Mm.
two divorces. And I am in retrospect so grateful. I must have been a pre-life agreement. Like we decided before we came down, okay, I'm gonna do this to you and you're gonna do this to me. And now out of the outcome of this is ultimately gonna be your greater awakening, your greater raising of consciousness and emotional mastery. And in the moment, it's horrible, right? Oh my goodness,
Yeah.
I've gone through so much awakening through those hard knocks of getting dumped, getting divorced, losing all my money, and then you're like, but in retrospect, when you're finally out of the long dark tunnel, talk about the dark night of the soul, right? We're talking in the wake up process, and I'm just going to tell people that may have not done the rabbit hole yet, gone down the rabbit hole, but you're going to do it sooner or later. Most people are going to be forced to. It's not pretty. It's ugly, cry, sob, red eyes, puking. I had a lot of purging, physiologically, and just I mean, and it's ugly and it's messy, and I tell people like, just allow yourself to go through and feel what you're gonna go through because it's got to come out,
And
right?
it will pass. It will pass.
Hmm.
The more you let it come out, I should say. You got to let it come out and do it. Speaking of relationships, I have a really funny. I was just like, maybe I should share this story, but you would appreciate this. We're on the road, and I'm just having this most peaceful time ever. I'm just like staring at the terrain was just the most meditative drive ever. And I'm sure if anyone has seen any of my posts the past several years, I've done some passive aggressive posts about my kid's dad and the pain body that comes with that and how I just couldn't let go. I was having this peaceful moment. And in my mind's eye, I was thanking him for the children again, but also apologizing for the part I played because it can't all be him. And
Right.
we signed up for that.
Yeah.
So I was just apologizing in my heart, like a little bit of a cord cut, a little bit of a release, and just thinking when I get home and get settled, I'm going to write him because I finally got his new address on this passport form. And I'm going to say these things and apologize. And then also say, this is going to follow. What's going to follow this letter are some adoption papers. And the giant would like to proceed. And we are going to adopt these children. Like I had, like, not an agenda, but I needed to cut the cord, apologize, but also say, and with that, these children are going to be legally adopted. I basically got home, didn't do anything. Day 2, I get a text, and I haven't heard from this man really ever. And it said, I just want to apologize how much time has passed. Is adoption still on the table? I think that might be the best choice for them. And I'm just like, oh, I did that. We did that. And it was a peaceful exchange. It wasn't any more war. And he came to his own terms, but in the ether and the astral, whatever it was, I had compassion and peace, and I cut the cord, but I thanked it. I released it. I know that whole experience had to happen and continue to happen until I was ready to come to peace with it and forgive and own up my stuff. It's so powerful what our sweet little mind can do, especially when it connects to the heart at the same time. And all the parties are happy and we move on. And kind of piggybacks on, the trauma of it all. I was repeating my trauma by regurgitating the same narrative of our story. And I'm like, this doesn't have to be our story anymore. It's not, I got these beautiful kids out of it. That's great. He had a chance to rise. He chose this. I chose this. It's just, that's my awakening. That was a really hard, clear step. And oh my goodness, this awakening doesn't stop because I had such a big aha moment when I received that text. I wasn't triggered. I didn't have to get the last word in.
Good
And
job. Way to
yeah, it
go.
was like, thanks, road trip.
Yep. And you know what? I think thank you for sharing that. Good on you. And it shows your raised consciousness, your level of emotional mastery that's growing by the day. I think we're getting hurled some tests by the day, by the week. Like so many tests are coming. And I sense for those of us who are really aware of our purpose and our mission here on planet Earth as we are moving through this, as I say, for the collective dark night of the soul, we're going to be leaned upon by many, and that is like that good old Spider-Man quote: "With great power comes great responsibility." You know what? It's true. So the
Yeah.
responsibility to help guide people. We had people guide us, right? When we are going through our awakening process. Thank goodness for that. Now there's so many people out there that can be helpful, and you are going to be a source, a leader for many people. I mean, you already are for many people to lean on and to learn from. And also, I say just from to hold space, hold the energy of calm and peace during, be the eye of the hurricane and peace incarnate us that we go into some bumpier times and being able to it is a big responsibility. I feel it, and so I think these last tests getting thrown, like you could have been triggered, right?
Oh yeah.
Could have gone
Oh,
off your ex, and you didn't.
y- yep. Yep. It was, yeah. I just was thought of another trigger recently, but it has to do with the financials. But I've already released those burdens of the financials, and I've had it all, and I've had none. And guess what? I still was a good person, and I'm able to traverse between all of it. Okay, I'm not on the street. Grateful for that. There's so many things you can look at. Again, perspective. I think we did a whole episode about that too, our choices and perspective. But the awakening is no joke. I also think the older and wiser I've become, the easier it is to spot the Agent Smiths.
Oh yeah, let's go back to the Matrix.
Yes.
You know
And
what?
teach others how to recognize them.
Yes, yes, and oh, back to the Matrix. So we have Neo getting his call to adventure, right? So this is also the hero's journey, big time. And I actually use the Matrix in the hero's journey as a touch point because it's so relative.
Mhm.
He gets so let's say the good guys, the awakened, Morpheus, Trinity, they find him sleeping in the Matrix, right? Doesn't even know he's in there, going about his normal life, the formulaic life, la di da. And they recognize him as one that can wake up a very powerful soul, the one, right? And he's given the invitation to come out, and his soul is calling him, like his higher self is calling him, like, what is real, this world? So follow the right rabbit. And he gets the chance, and he doesn't take it. Remember, he wusses out. And a lot of people have been in this last 3.5 years. Think about how many blatant indicators and opportunities for a red pill people have been given. And out of fear, I will say it all comes back to fear. If you boil it down, they've chosen the blue pill. Nope,
Mhm.
nope, stay in the Matrix.
Comfort, fear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I want to stay in the Matrix. And then when he finally takes the red pill, it's the point of no return, right? Just like when you and I, we finally go down that rabbit hole and we start learning the truth about existence. And then, when he takes that pill, so this is so metaphorical for people waking up right now. There's only one clip where it's from his point of view inside the pod, and it's just for like a second. And he can see himself inside the pod hooked up to all those hoses, and he claws his way out of the pod, and it's strong, and he's like, and
Mhm.
that's where a lot of people are about to go through that clawing, or they're already clawing because they, like me in my awakening, I had to get that first breath of truth. Like I had to, for me, metaphorically, I was deep in the water and I was swimming to the top. And if I didn't get that first breath, I was going to pass out. And he pulls that breathing device out of his
Oof.
throat, right?
Yeah. Great visuals.
Finally, take that first breath. And that's when he starts to look out and realize the truth of his existence, that he is a cog, a battery, a human battery being used as a battery, and how the millions of other precious souls, humans, are also batteries, asleep in their pods, not knowing that they are not living an actual life. It's a simulation, right?
Mhm.
And so he he gets out of the pod, gets unscrewed, and they drop him into the water, and then the good guys, Morpheus and the ship, Nebuchadnezzar, can come get him, right? And he asked a question which I thought is really relevant, which is, why do my eyes hurt? He says, because you've never used them before,
Mm.
right? And that's a
Mhm.
lot of people. And for me, when I first learned, like, and I went deep into the rabbit hole of like, I didn't stop with, so I did the cosmic big view. I was doing past life regressions, understanding who I've been, past, future. I know Dolores Cannon was a huge um, inspiration for me to wake up, but also to learn that I had chosen to be incarnated on a prison planet. And I went down, the reptilians and the little grays, and that I was a slave in this system, and even to, the negative AI. Like I went as deep as I possibly could because I had to know the truth. I really
Mhm.
wanted to get to the bottom of it. I didn't want to go just a little bit in. I wanted to go all the way in. I think that's an important aspect for people who are just taking the red pill now, is pace yourself. Everybody's gonna go at your
That
own
time.
pace. If you need to take breaks, take breaks. Go outside, take a little break, watch something funny on your phone, read something, whatever you have to do, or unplug completely. Sometimes in my initial rabbit hole awakening, it was so intense that I would just have to take a nap. I
Yeah.
would
A
just
lot
have
of
to
sleep.
sleep.
Hmm.
And sometimes I just needed to go for a good old run and cry my eyes out and scream. And I was angry and grief stricken and confused. And then also clarification, enlightenment. Whoa, okay, it's making sense. All of these emotions, as people are going to go in their own pace, is give your chance to, like, he bugs out. Neo bugs out and pukes when he realizes the truth, right? And they're like, he's gonna pop. He's gonna pop. And there might be some puking. There was for me. And so to surround yourself with those that can hold your hair while you puke, like going
Find
through,
your tribe
yeah,
and
find
a
your tribe
mentor.
and some
Yeah.
mentors.
Yeah.
You don't want to do it by yourself. You really need to have good
Yeah.
people around you. And that also has to, I say know thyself. A big problem of humanity is they've become so disconnected from source, which you can't ultimately do anyway, but not trusting themselves, not listening to their instincts anymore. So there's a lot of mistrust in everything. And so, as there are so many predators, like so many Agent Smiths out there to take advantage of people just waking up, there has to be some discernment um, in those very fragile beginning stages of awakening,
Yeah.
especially if someone goes hard down the rabbit hole and they're like, "What reptilians? Negative AI? What? I'm a slave?"
That's where I lost a lot of people. And it was like 15, 16, 17, 18. Like, you won't believe this. Ah! But they're like, I can't comprehend even what you're saying. So that's
Just
when I
a
realized the
lot.
value of tribe.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, and you want to know something funny about? So we talk about ascension symptoms, which people are awakening right now, and we're changing at a molecular level too, our bodies, and everything that's happening right now at the end of this 26,000 year cycle is oh goodness, where did that thought go? Where was it go? Oh, okay, ascension symptoms. So sometimes I get blown up in the third eye and crown chakra. Lots of light coming in. Odd sleep patterns. I was just talking to a dear friend of mine who I've known for 23 years. He had helped me several years ago go through the sovereignty process, right? And all of
Cool.
that. And he helped
Okay.
a lot of people do that. And I was laughing with him because he was telling me just 2 days ago the same thing. Amie, the ascension symptoms are crazy. And I said, "Do you realize the irony? You're kind of like Morpheus, helping people free themselves from the matrix, becoming sovereign, papering up, going through the status chains and all that." And I go, "You're kind of like Morpheus from the matrix. You're helping people extract themselves out of their pods, out of the matrix, out of the slavery." And he was in Matrix 2. He was in that film as an actor. Yeah, isn't that funny?
Wow. There you go.
He was in that scene. I've seen him a couple times down in Zion where they have that big dance scene. Do you remember that in The Matrix 2?
Yes. Pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's in
And
there.
yeah, he's in there.
Oh,
And so
cool.
the ascension symptoms, I know I have so much empathy for people who are going through that right now. And it's about to speed up, it's gonna accelerate, it's gonna get harder. And so for people who are feeling that call and wherever they are, whether they're ready to take that red pill and wake up, go through the awakening process, or they've just started or somewhere in those early stages, is to be very discerning with what information you put in, because
Yes.
even within the truther community there are still a lot of Agent Smiths. So
Swimming. I wanted to express that it's not like you're awakening and that's it, and then you're done. It
oh
continues, and the more you lighten up and awaken, the more you get hit up with the Agent Smiths, and you get cast webs of the matrix thrown over left and right, and I mean, it comes in waves, but you have to be prepared. You have to keep your vessel prepared. And if you're not, I just recently went through another round of like shields up. I'm such a bright light, especially after that road trip, that it just came, the hits were coming. And I'm like, oh, I see what y'all were doing here. You tried to catch me. I'm full of sugar and road trip snacks and even alcohol. Like, I see you caught me. You caught my light dimming and you're trying to sneak in there, but shielded up and tried to get myself back up. It's constant. I mean, that sounds a little dark, but I don't know. It is. You can be prepared for it. And that to me is a journey in and of itself, but it's also very empowering just to recognize it. I noticed since even just December, I've done 30 plus little shows here. I've been on over a dozen platforms, and that's when it kept coming too. You're getting targeted. You're getting, oh, this little bright light. Let's get in there. So you just have to be even quicker and faster and recognize it. Say, I see what this is. I see what that is. And it's a full-time, it's full-time work.
And then
Work though, I say, because
you
I
want
don't
to,
know.
yeah.
Yeah, I like being in charge of my own spirit and my own journey. So I don't see it such as work, more so as a lot of tests.
Yeah, and what you
Yeah.
said is really key to focus on is like there I would say for the majority of people, like I did mention those handful of people that come in with full memory, right? Those are very far and few between. Now we'll go through the layer of the onion peeling. Like I had my big wake up call 2007, but in 2006 I had a big layer too. Metaphysically, I saw The Secret right when it came out. I remember it was May 6th, 2006, and that was an indicator, a wake up call for me metaphysically. And I was just like, whoa,
Me
I
too.
totally resonated with that.
Me too.
And
It blew my freaking mind.
yeah,
Okay.
blew your third eye, right?
Yes. But just like SOF, I'm wondering if you can even say it, Sound of Freedom, people want to attack everything other than the content. I'm like, you can be talking and arguing about all the things behind it, but it's still activating people. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. Go
No,
ahead. But
it was a huge activator for me.
mhm.
And I remember that night that I saw it, I had this dream, and I will call it a gift. I was back home, and uh, the way that I can describe this feeling, back home as in source, right? I had all this light around me and smiles. So if I can describe this feeling, it's the greatest feeling that I have felt in this iteration so far. It was like having, like a million hugs, of the best hugs ever, and the height of falling in love and winning the lottery and having the best orgasm of your life all at the same time. Like
Wow.
heightened sense of being back home. And I was given a taste of it. And I remember I was like, no, I want to go back. Nope, we got to focus on this journey. I would imagine somewhat like when people experience a near death experience, right? And they have that
Yes, I had
chance
that.
and they're like, it's so beautiful. It's so wonderful. Why would I not want to go back to that, that limited physical vessel that I got to go back into, which is usually like in pain or hurting or diseased or something, through an accident or illness. And we have these opportunities to bring um, that here to planet Earth. And that's what we're creating right now, in the ascension period, those on the positive ascending timeline, which is why it's so important for people to wake up. The harder it will be and the more painful it will be, the longer someone plants their head in the sand.
Yes.
So now what are the ramifications of not waking up? So why would somebody want to go through this? We've described it as painful, as difficult, as challenging, the crying, the puke, the dark night of the soul, existential crises, all of that, right? And it can get even worse than what I've said. Those are just some, right? In the
Mhm.
awakening process, you could lose all your friends, you could lose all your money, you could, you know, you could have things happen to you physically. It's worth it because, well, ultimately, don't you? It's what your soul came here to do on your evolutionary path. So you're fulfilling your mission on planet Earth. if you don't, it's going to be a repeat. We say life is, on planet Earth is a school. Dolores Cannon would say that a lot. It's the Earth school. Do you want to take the remedial course? Repeat, repeat, repeat. Well, eventually you're going to have to get there and you're going to have to wake up, and you want to wake up. So if someone chooses to sleep through the Great Awakening and they say, what, 6 to 10% will never wake up, that's their choice. It's, they have free will to do that. They're just going to have to take a redo life. So if you know that, why not wake up now? Why not wake up in this life? Because when you do, when I was describing that amount of peace and joy, that feeling, like tapping into that high level of bliss and love, as we ascend dimensionalities, higher and higher dimensions, we're going back to what, we originated from. So higher and higher consciousness equals more harmony, more love, more bliss, more that peak that I can describe to you in the best way that I could, right? Like winning the lottery, being in love, having the best orgasm, getting a million hugs, like all those things. Doesn't that sound good? Doesn't that sound appealing to feel those things versus suffering, right? And we are suffering if we're still a slave, if we're still asleep. And so, and this is the world we are creating now, and more of us as we awaken collectively will be creating together. And I am wired for harmony. I mean, I really came out of the womb wired for harmony because I remember what it's like in my prior lives. And I have revisited and explored prior lives. So being able to remember what that's like and then to have those memories coming faster and harder now as so many souls, star seeds, light workers are being awakened and activated right now. It's kind of like, Avengers assemble, right? We're star seeds assemble. That's what we're doing right now. And the more of us working co-creatively together, we're just going to raise the energy, bring the power, and accelerate this process of creating the new earth. And that's where the good stuff is. And first, the collective must go through the dark night of the soul. And I sense that's what we're heading into now. I mean, there's
Collectively.
I sense there's so many world events and so many things taking place, in the upper atmosphere. It's a parking lot of ships. We've got so much galactic help right now.
Yeah.
There's no need to black pill because just know that the outcome is ultimately amazing. There's some bumps in
Yeah.
the road. However, light wins, love wins, So if
Those
any
are my favorite.
new people doing the red pill, right? And there's going to be the Agent Smith trying to black pill you, don't take it. Know that
I
the
know.
outcome is that our species wins. Those on the positive ascending timeline, at least 51% of service to others, take the positive ascending timeline. And this ascensionary jump is at least to the fourth dimension. Many will go to the fifth, sixth, and higher. But the fourth dimension is awesome, man. This you get your med beds, your replicator,
Uh-huh.
all that good stuff. And
Mhm.
in the fifth dimension, you become the technology. You are it. So it's not something external that you use. But this is our future. This is what we're moving into. And it's very exciting. And to know that our species, we're evolving from Homo sapiens sapien to Homo luminous. And this is what's taking place. That's why we're having the ascension symptoms, right? We're literally changing and evolving. Our vessel is
As a species.
as a
Yeah.
species. And
Yeah.
so what you said earlier is perfect advice, Heidi. Take care of your vessel. Sleep, go outside, drink a lot of good water, ground,
Mhm.
put good food in your body, be around high vibratory spirits, like good people that are going to help uplift you versus keep you down.
Yeah.
All of these are very practical and necessary tools right now. And I think self care is more vital than ever. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. I think people have to be very discerning about what they digest as well. We're getting tested. Yes, world events are getting heightened again, and even those that have taken the red pill and are awakening, you're going to get tested. Do you put your? We know it's dark. We know it's heavy. but what are you going to spew out there? The solutions and bring the heart into the healing of it all? Or are you going to keep spreading the loosh? And, it's digesting the info as you awaken means almost to get a little quieter. Like I found I'm a lot less everybody and just more like they'll see this. They'll see this at one point. Here's your hold the line. Hold the frequency, hold the line. I've got to hold the light here. Yes, this is dark. Yes, we can see the patterns. Some of us can. Yes, but am I going to contribute to that tumbleweed of darkness, or just like hold it up? I don't know if that came out right. I think you know what I'm saying though.
Too. And
Yeah.
what's interesting, you said this earlier, is that we keep going through bigger layers and layers of awakening now. Like you and I have been, relatively awake for a while. However, I have realized, especially this acceleration in the last 3.5 years, there's a lot of things that I've been a sleeper on, a lot. And I have also allowed myself through periods of time to be dream spelled.
Mm.
I have too. And,
Mhm.
and I haven't like Cypher, the guy that wants to go back in the Matrix. He's like, don't want to know anything. Remember that character? He's like, put me back in the Matrix.
Just
Never
kind of like,
wanted to go back. Once like there are some people that want to get inserted back. They don't want to live in the truth anymore. However, once a lot of souls, like once you could still be lulled into, because the Matrix has such a hold on you, right? There's
yeah.
so much conditioning in the Matrix, and we're literally deprogramming, unwiring all of that conditioning that we've learned. And that's been tough. And there's been aspects of that where I look at myself now and in retrospect, Heidi, and I think, wow, I've been dream spelled. I would tell you,
Yep.
particularly when it comes to our physical vessels and how I have equated my worth in the past, right?
Yep.
You
Yep.
know, think about
Mhm.
all the negative influence that we have bombarded from every possible direction since we're a little kid, since we come into this world, and what beauty is and what we're supposed to look like and be like. And I realized, wow, I have put so much of my worth or ego or lack of worth into what my meat suit looks like, right?
Oh my gosh,
We
yes.
chose our meat suit before we came here. We should be like, oh, mwah, good
Yeah.
job,
You're
right?
doing great.
I know this is our integration with our consciousness, and we are integrating more and more that it just the physical appearance is not who we are. And
Right.
that's going to be for many a bit of deprogramming to do. And I'm working on myself on that one too. I have times now, even where I think about, in the past, I had to, do all the fashion. I was dream spelled by the fashion and the makeup and jewelry and all of that. And I have gotten further and further away from that and very comfortable with my meat suit just the way it is. Obviously, take care of it, right? Exercise, put in good food, all these things, but don't tie up your worth or who you are for a moment in, just what your visage is, your physical vessel. And
Oh yeah.
that's a biggie one right there. And maybe that's why I'm so irreverent when I talk about our bodies, right? I talk about the meat suit because you got to have some humor here, lighten up. You know, those
Oh,
people that
totally.
all they do is God love them. They want to have all these surgeries, or they live their life in the gym. And, I think there's a balance to all things. You're missing out on the good stuff, which is on the inside.
Yeah. Yeah, I go through clips or even photos and photo albums, and there is nothing consistent about me because either the light is on or it's dim or it's off, and that's the beauty. It's like my most enigmatic, like shining moments are usually when I'm at my happiest,
Yeah.
and it has nothing to do with if I painted my face or hand me down Heidi isn't a great color. It has to do, am I glowing inside?
Yes.
That's the end. That's it. And now, as almost 50, I get to teach my kids that because I lost near 2 decades of my life caring more about what was on the exterior because I thought what was seen was more the most important thing. And
Yes.
it's like what you see they're not looking at that. They're looking at the light. So 20 decades are gone because my light was off. I was, so it has everything to do with what's going on the inside is what's going to reflect on the outside. And the irony too of abusing my meat suit for being a certain to follow the certain magazines and everything or be a certain weight because then you're stuck on numbers. Go down that rabbit hole, people, of how they mislabel sizes just to psychologically make you go, ooh, I wear this now. There's a few big chains that do that on purpose just to get the customers in, but I digress.
That's a whole other show. That's
a whole other show. I was like,
that's a good theme.
That was a
good theme. The meat suit and deprogramming and unwiring from that.
Yes.
I'm glad that we're cool with admitting that we've been dream spelled in that. And I have, and even now, like there's a bit of wavering for me. I think like, so I'm 46, in our illusory linear years, right? However, we are ancient, infinite beings. This happens to be how I express physically in this incarnation. And it hasn't been until the last few years where I've really noticed how the meat suit definitely changes for females when you get to a certain age. And, not acquiring any like overthinking or, lack of self-esteem as we are evolving with our meat suit through time. And not, like I said, not obsessing about it. And I think people even into like their 80s and 90s have spent a lot of their lives obsessing about certain things, including these programs that were given in the Matrix. And then they're all amounting to us not feeling good about ourselves and not us wanting to really get to know who we truly are, which is our connection to source. So you said something really powerful when you're talking about beauty lies in your light, the light that's emanating from you. When I went for my first big awakening, 2007, and I had some of the biggest ahas, like I could breathe that air finally, like Neo coming out of the pod, right? I could finally breathe, and I was changing. I hadn't been to the office. I was in real estate at the time. I hadn't been to the office for a while, and I came in after I'd been gone doing a lot of just soul searching, reading, meditating, going through some deep, deep inner work. And one of the few awakened souls in that office, she found me and she's like, Amie, what has happened to you? You look so beautiful. I'm gonna call out to her, Edith. You saw me. You saw my light. I had literally changed how I looked, and I said, "You notice." Yeah, I know. You noticed, right?
Yeah.
And so isn't it wonderful to think that that's a really good note right there to think about all these beautiful souls who were dancing through the eons with, and now they're coming to life. They're remembering who they truly are. They're remembering, their mission on planet Earth. And to see their light emerge, Heidi, right? We're watching that. We're helping that process right now. That awakening process of souls raising their consciousness and like waking up is such a beautiful, beautiful gift, I believe, right now in this time.
1,000,000%. And watching the kids' lights, because it's very easy to see all that is not awake, but are you going to put all your mind and energy on that? Or, they got to let others have their own journey and their own awakening at their own time. You can emulate and model. That's what you can do. So, yeah. It's funny, just one more quick thing with the meat suit is that all the years of torturing and everything, when I filled myself up with light, my body just followed suit. Like it just did what I dreamt it would do. And all the years that I, was starving it or overworking it or cinching it or wearing Spanx in my 20s or, like all the silly things done. It's like it goes out the window when you're full of light. You're I can't express that enough to people. That's the beauty is the inside. But watching people's light come online, or even like mine, it'll go on, it'll go off, it'll go on, it'll dim. Like that's my journey, and it's been, and I'm just very aware of the tools and the Agent Smiths. And, as long as I'm recognizing it, I still feel on course. I still feel on task. And I think I've been set up because I was a teacher before years ago. I'm set up to do it now because I am so cognizant and aware of not only current events, but the power of the light within, that it's time to activate as many children as possible. Yeah. And so that gets me emotional. Um, that's where I can bring my gifts online. And that's going to be enough. People can get overwhelmed. I got to do this now, and then I got to do that, and then I got to do another show, and then I got to do here, and then jump here, and wake them and wake them and wake them. I'm like, but it's almost it's hard for people to digest it, but the simpler you go of just taking care of your light within is enough. It's enough on this planet, because imagine if so many people were doing that. And they are.
They are. And also it's wonderful because each soul is unique and beautiful and different, a divine spark of God, right? Like a snowflake. Every soul is different and unique. So is our mission. We have a very similar collective mission, like star seeds and light workers, but how that manifests is going to be different for each soul. So you've chosen your path with children, which I think is wonderful.
It chose me, I think.
It chose you. And some souls are going to be maybe more quiet on the background doing, fixing, light grids or holding space or, whatever it is. And some are going to be more outwardly focused in public with things that they do.
We all have a different mission.
And some are like more supporter souls. And they're like, I'm going to get on board with your mission and your mission. I like you. I resonate. And then whether it's through money or time, resources, energy, all of those things, they're all energy. They all contribute. So they're all important and they're all necessary. And the more that we can identify what those big gifts, those big pulls are to how you want to contribute, just like a community, everybody contributes something you want to, because we're here to be of service. And being of service is a joy. So those who are being greedy or lazy, however you want to, define it, they're missing out on the joy of being of service.
Oh, which is a beauty routine. When you're of service, you're bouncing light back and forth, and you fill up with light, and then there you go. Yeah, being of service is people don't realize too, it involves even the simplest things. Just taking care of your animals, taking care of your pets, like being of service, do unto others. It can be very simple. Again, simple. I'm getting more into the simple way of things. I think being on the road taught me that. Like, simple is enough sometimes.
Yeah.
Especially if it gets you in that calm state of mind. And yeah.
That brings me to what might be a good ending point for us here, because I see we hit the hour already. It goes by so fast. Is that for each person to self-care, take care of self, put on your own oxygen mask first before you can be of service to others, is really going back to some of the basics, the simple things you were saying right now, is to know yourself. And as you are going on this journey, many who have gotten away from it or not listening to their instincts, you need to go back to getting to know yourself, because self-love, which to me is the most important thing of all, is you have to know yourself. And I like to talk about solitude and silence, unplugging, being in nature, connecting with Mother Nature, because she'll heal you. Get out of the fray, because the fray is loud and distracting and blatant in your face, right? And it, from the Matrix analogy, it's meant to do that. It's meant to keep you asleep. It's meant to keep you distracted. And not until you get quiet can you start doing the inner work and introspection. And that also comes with taking care of yourself. And so as people are starting to, like I often say, Telegram, uncensored platforms, if you're looking for truth, it's not going to be probably on Google, there's a lot of Agent Smith media out there that will feed the wrong information or mislead people purposely. You have to find avenues and outlets that provide some truth. But even to go into that as a new red pillar, right? A red pillar, a new person going down the rabbit hole, if you're not coming in with discernment and a knowledge of self, it can get really confusing and dark and frustrating.
Yeah, and you're going to miss the cues. You're going to miss the cues of discernment when your body's like, your shit meter.
Yeah,
You've got to get your vessel lined up. And you can really, I mean, even in the highest vibes of groups, there's infiltration and things. But if you are on point, your body is going to resonate with that frequency and it's going to be off. You can't, what's that? My favorite meme of like, you can't fake something, you can't fake your frequency.
figure,
Someone
figure.
will know it. Yeah. It's like that doesn't lie. The frequency, you can have the showboat and everything and say all the right things. But if you are lying or your frequency is off, people in tune will feel that. And you don't align, you move on. But again, with the getting your instincts real quick is when you do get that, I guess this is one of the, I don't like promising things, but this is a promise. If you get your instinct and your vessel tight where you can respond, your skills, your star knowledge that only you came here with will you'll feel it and you'll see it and you'll know that's what I meant to do. You don't need to search for what is your mission. Your mission, you came with your mission. You just got to wake it up a little bit. And I just find that the slower you go, the more in tune with yourself, the more you'll hear it. And all the missions are perfect and they're all
Yes.
very, very, very different. And that's the beauty of it. That's what makes it so incredibly and unique. So to compare yourself to someone else, or there comes ego and judgment and everything, it's just going to keep setting you back. So just line up, get quiet, enjoy the solitude, feel the call,
Yes.
feel your own call to adventure.
Perfectly put. You put it perfectly.
I always so love talking with you. I know and of course, my brain's still foggy because the crazy sleep stuff. I mean, oh my gosh, it's
There
it's
you
just been nuts. But I have taken your advice too, and I just go outside. I mean, we've seen mountain lions and things, but I flick the lights a few times to scare them off, and then I just stand out there, and I always can get it back to one. Get yourselves back to one, people. We're we're on task, we're on mission. And I really hope we get to play again, Amie. I just enjoy the volley of conversation. And we didn't get to do our thing in the physical, but something divine is lining us up for something. And I totally trust that all will be as it should be.
go. It will be, and
Um,
I will be back in California sometime this year, probably in the fall. So
okay.
if I come down to Southern California, I'll definitely see you.
Yeah, we'll make it work. Well, again, adventureswithamie.com. Adventures with Amie's on YouTube. You're on Rumble now too. I mean, you've been on Rumble, right? You're
Rumble,
on all the platforms.
Instagram, adventureswithamie.com. So Amie, just like you can see my name right here, spelled AMIE, adventureswithamie.com. And you'll find me on Instagram, on Facebook. I have a Facebook adventure page, and there's always great content. And
All ages content,
yeah,
people. All ages.
for the most part, there
For
is
the
an
most.
occasional expletive that will fly out of my mouth, but for the most part, it is, yeah, family friendly and positive, uplifting. You'll learn something, you'll laugh, and once again, take whatever it is that you resonate and apply it, put it into your life, play with it. Just like I say, playing with energy. That's what we're doing. I use these words because they connotate light, curious, open minded, right? Which is very key for those who are, starting down the rabbit hole or just entering, or leaving the matrix. It is so important to be light and open minded. Well, with your discernment, with you listening to your instincts, but also to give yourself the opportunity um, to hold it lightly as possible, because there is some dark things that we are learning about, especially the deeper you go down the hole. And so to come from a place of light and love, I think, put on the armor of God, we say, like you said, you put on the armor, you can protect yourself. I do a protectionary method every morning and sometimes throughout the day, where I ask my guides and my angels and even Archangel Michael to surround myself with a bubble of light. And I go through this process for my highest good and to cleanse, like we did saging right before you started the show.
Mhm.
Sage, cleanse, whatever you need to do, ceremonies, processes that will help you power up and stay in the highest vibration possible right now.
Frequency never lies.
Mhm.
It's all in the frequency. And it's not ignorant not to recognize the dark stuff. I know we're trying to wind it up, and here we keep talking, but but I've actually been called out for being dumb and ignorant, and how can you not see? It's like, actually, I'm incredibly empowered and in a warrior stance when I choose the higher timeline. Of course, I see all that. Been there, done that. I get it. But when you can see it and recognize the matrix webs, but you choose the other one, that's a mic drop right there. That's where I encourage everyone to get to that point. and just navigate the tests, navigate the Smiths.
Exactly.
You got this. You got a team of support. We can do this.
Ooh, so many beautiful souls out there that are helping and assisting in wonderful ways. And I sense you and I are going to have more topics just when we get into this one, and they branch off into so many other important things, right? Where an hour, we could talk for days and still be like, not done yet.
Yeah. I wrote my favorite little quote. You said, I'm wired for harmony. So I just love that. I might have to caption that.
Thanks.
Thanks.
It's all yours.
Oh no, you get credit. Credit's due. Thank you for sharing your time. Thank you, folks, for tuning in and having that energy exchange with us. Please hit like, subscribe, and share. We are doing this selflessly and from our heart, and we'd love for you to pay it forward. So if you enjoyed this content, you can find all our links below, and we look forward to hearing from you. So thank you again, Miss Amie Chilson. I always just love talking with you. So thank you. Thank you for sharing your time with me. Okay. Everybody have the most beautiful one. Light up.